It's always been shocking to me since starting Legacy Farmer back in 2019, just how many farmers, ranchers, and ag business owners do not understand simple balance sheet structure. Now, starting Legacy Farmer after coming from a banking background, I assume this is information that everybody just knew and understood, and at the end of the day, knew how things need to be structured and organized, but reality has taught me that that is just not the case. So inside today's video, we're going to talk about just exactly how your balance sheet should be structured, but also too, the problems that you will inevitably face if it's not structured correctly. So let's get into it. All right, guys. So just starting off today's training here, let's just talk about the overall structure of a balance sheet. So when you're looking at your balance sheet, your banker is asking you to prepare one and things like that. Your balance sheet is going to be broken into three different sections. You're going to have the current section, the intermediate section, and then the long-term section. Now, the current section, you're going to have current assets and current liabilities. This is going to be a list of your assets that you can sell or liquidate within 1 year or less. Your intermediate is going to be typically assets that you can sell or liquidate over a term of 5 to 7, maybe 5 to 10 years as well. I've seen both sides there. There's no right or wrong number of years there when it comes to intermediate. There is some gray area there because I've seen some banks that want to stop at 5. I've seen some banks that go all the way up to 10. And your long-term assets are going to be things that you typically plan to hold, if not sell, in a 10-year or longer period. This is why you see real estate and things like that down there underneath that section. So in order to dive into today's conversation, my friends, you first need to understand the overall balance sheet structure and why things are structured that way. Now, moving into the second point here, we're going to start talking about the problems that will arise when you don't have your balance sheet structured correctly. Now, one common scenario that we run into over and over again inside of Legacy Farmer when we have customers coming in and we're helping them get set up inside of Farmer Metrics and they start putting together their balance sheet is we see one massive problem right out of the gate, and that is that the balance sheet and their loans are not structured correctly. Now, let me give you an example here. We've had several customers come in over the years to where their operating line of credit, they feel like they're constantly maxing out on it throughout the year. They don't feel like they're actually gaining any traction on it, even though several years has passed by. And the first question that I go to and the things that I'm analyzing the most is, what is their equipment amount as far as asset values go? And how does that compare to their line of credit amount? And then it's one simple question. Have you used your operating line of credit to purchase equipment or other capital assets over the years? The same answer is the one I always get back, and it's yes, I have. And it's always to the tune of anywhere from $300,000 up to $1 million that they've purchased equipment with using their operating line of credit over the years. So obviously, this is the number one reason why they feel like they're not getting ahead when it comes to paying down their operating line of credit. Even though maybe they've had successful, profitable years for the past 3 years or so, it just doesn't seem like they're gaining any ground. And that is because you are carrying an intermediate liability using your operating line of credit. Your operating line of credit should be used to purchase current assets. These things on your balance sheet, your current assets need to line up with your current liabilities, intermediate, long-term. These things need to line up. And the first way to get yourself into just a world of problems is to not have those things lined up and have your balance sheet structured correctly. Now, the number one thing that these customers told me was that their banker told them, hey, yeah, go ahead and buy the piece of equipment, just put it on your operating line of credit and we'll term it out eventually. But they never got to that point. And so obviously this causes a world of problems. The first problem is, one, yeah, your balance sheet's not structured correctly. But number two, now your working capital looks absolutely terrible because you have an intermediate liability screwing with your working capital number there and not giving you a true financial picture, or your banker a true financial picture of what the actual reality is of your balance sheet for your business. So that's the first big problem that you are going to face. And this is the number one reason why we need to have these things structured correctly. The second problem you're going to run into, and this is what's going to piss a lot of people off, especially my customers that have over $500,000 sitting on their operating line of credit the past 3 or 4 years, especially since 2020 or 2021, is that from the banker standpoint, if your equipment loans are sitting on your operating line of credit instead of being termed out and structured as an intermediate liability in your balance sheet that has a payoff period of 5 to 7 years plus a lower interest rate, the benefit here to the bank is they've gotten to reprice that debt. Say it's $500,000 in equipment purchases sitting on your operating line of credit. Guess what they've gotten to do the past 2 years? Reprice that debt every single month. And so looking back to 2020 or 2021, if you would have purchased that piece of equipment the right way, or at least had your banker move it from your operating line of credit down into a term note, what type of interest rate could you have gotten back then? You could have gotten a fixed interest rate of probably 3 to 4% on that piece of equipment, paying it off over 5 to 7 years. And now you come to find out that it has literally been repriced every single year, every single month here. And just by simply having that debt on there, one, it's costing you more interest expense, but two, it's taking up your working capital, your operating capital that you need, which is why you're constantly maxed out on your operating line of credit. You don't feel like you're gaining any ground. And this gives the bank the ability to put more pressure on you because you're constantly tapping out that operating line of credit. And so guys, that one thing right there is causing such a major issue in the industry. And it's the first thing that we look for when we have new customers coming to Legacy Farmer is making sure that their balance sheet is structured correctly, because if it's not, it just causes a world of problems. And guess what? One other point that I didn't mention here is if your working capital is not in a good place and the bank sees this, but the bank also doesn't remember that, hey, we put $500,000 on John's operating line of credit to purchase equipment back 2 or 3 years ago and we didn't move it off. Well, then now they're basing your interest rate based on what your working capital is. And if you have a very small or even a negative working capital position, guess what they're going to do to your interest rate? They're going to increase it. And guess what? They have every right to, because based on our perception of what the numbers is telling us on the balance sheet, yeah, you're a higher risk credit. So again, this goes back to making sure that the balance sheet's structured correctly. It's going to save you so much time and energy and ultimately money across every aspect of your business, because your balance sheet is the foundation of everything, right? And this thing has got to be locked down and on point and structured the right way. The last point here, guys, that I will talk about is you need to understand, again, I go back to current assets should line up with current liabilities, intermediate assets, intermediate liabilities, and then long-term assets, long-term liabilities. One thing that I push all of our customers to do inside of Legacy Farmer using our software called Farmer Metrics is updating their balance sheet on a month-by-month basis. And the reason for this, I get that may sound like overkill and everything, because typically farmers or ranchers and ag business owners update their balance sheet one time per year. Then they do that at the end of the year, or the beginning of the new year when the bank is asking for it because they need to renew their operating line of credit. I totally get it. But the reality is your balance sheet is fluctuating drastically throughout the year. And if you really want to have great optics and know what's going on with the heartbeat, the financials of your business, you need to be updating this on a monthly basis, because as you advance on your operating line of credit and you're buying more inputs for your crop or whatever it may be, those numbers are changing, right? Those valuations are changing. And if you get caught in a tight position, wouldn't you like to know why? And so that's the whole thing. That's why I push our customers to update these things, because when you're updating on a monthly basis, we are able to find problems before they happen. We're able to forecast out into the future. You are going to be so much more on top of your numbers, and your banker's going to know that you're so much more on top of your numbers, which means you are a less risk customer to them, which means you can negotiate for better interest rates than what everybody else is getting. And just as a business owner, you're going to be on top of your freaking numbers versus guessing and just waiting to see a year later what your balance sheet looks like and whether or not we gained ground or lost ground. This is the other benefit of updating the balance sheet on a monthly basis, is that you are able to see your growth or your decline throughout the year. And if there's decline, guess what? We're going to make changes in the middle of the year, not wait till the end of the year. But so many people, they update their balance sheet one time per year, and then they are flying blind. And their only strategy is hope and prayer through the rest of the year, hoping that when they update it or see it again, that they gained some actual ground. Our customers don't operate that way. If you're using our software, Farmer Metrics, you are going to know the health and strengths of your business every single month as we go through the year. And that is how real business owners operate. We are constantly managing, engaging, and analyzing our finances inside the business to make sure we are going towards the targets and goals that we set for the business versus just hoping and praying everything works out. Guys, in today's environment, with the level of numbers that we are talking about and the amount of volatility and variables that exist inside of this industry, you have to be a master of your numbers. You have to be on top of your numbers, minimum one time per month. They're updating all those things so that you're no longer living in the world of maybe and just hoping and praying and guessing and hoping that things work out, right? I want our customers to have absolute financial certainty in the growth and direction of their business and how they're making financial decisions, and having an up-to-date and well-structured and organized balance sheet is the number one way to do that. So guys, at the end of the day, if you're looking at your finances inside the farm operation and you see that you basically live in a world of chaos, right? Your balance sheet's not structured, it's not organized, you don't know where things are at, your cash flow is not put together, you don't do any analysis of your numbers, you don't have these conversations with your banker, they're not training and educating you on what the finances are inside your business and how they're looking at them and using them to make decisions on your loans, like your interest rate and things like that, then guys, what you need to know is this is the exact problem that we solve inside of Legacy Farmer, and that we have used our software called Farmer Metrics with and built it over the years with our customers to solve these specific problems. I am sick and tired of ag business owners and families inside of this country that have been working tirelessly on the operation for decades, and ultimately at the end of the day do not know whether or not they're going to be able to financially pass it on to the next generation. I want you to have some level of certainty in the finances in your operation so that you can put a game plan together on how you are going to, one, be successful successful now, but 2, make sure you are setting up a business that the next generation can be successful with as well, so that the family legacy carries on and grows and thrives with each generation into the future. So my friends, at the end of the day, if that is something that you want and you are ready to get to work and really take your financial side of your operation from a place of disorganization and chaos to a place of confidence and clarity, then click the link below, schedule a free call with our team. And on that call, we will determine whether or not Legacy Farmer and our software, Farmer Metrics, is the right fit for you.